What's up, y'all? I'm Candy West, and you are watching Dare to Worship TV. I can remember a time when I had to dare to worship. I was dealing with grief. I had lost my father in 2012, and I was in Birmingham, Alabama. My family was in Dallas, Texas, and I really had to suffer through building and picking up the pieces, and being a worship leader in Birmingham, again, and my family being states away, and me having to deal with the grief and the loss of my father on my own, and still have to mount the platform and to lead people into the presence of God. That was one of the most challenging seasons for me as a worshiper, because I would have to talk to myself, pep talk myself, and remind myself that the songs that I was singing about God being a healer, God being a deliverer, God being a comforter, God being a keeper, I had to remind myself of those songs and say, you can't just sing it for other people to believe it, but you have to also sing what you believe. You have to encourage yourself. There's a song by Donald Lawrence called Encourage Yourself in the Lord, and that was one of the things I had to do. I had to be like David, who was an ultimate worshiper. I had to encourage myself even in the midst of my pain, even in the midst of my grief, and when I would push myself and when I would dare myself to worship, every single time the presence of the Lord, the peace of God would just fall upon me, and it would just help put the pieces back together again. So I'll never forget that moment, but I'll never forget how God was so faithful in that moment when I pressed into his presence, when I dared to worship regardless of what I was going through in that moment. God really proved himself to be a keeper. He proved himself to be a comforter, and I'm so grateful. And again, I would just dare anybody to worship, no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what your issues are, no matter what life is thrown your way. I dare you to press into worship, press into the presence of God, because of everything that you feel like you're lacking, God will be everything that you need in that moment. So I wrote a song called Contentment for my project on Candy West Live, and the song was really birthed out of experience. You know, the lyrics are, can I be honest? There are seasons I go through and I don't like what I feel, I don't like what I see. But you promise that these afflictions I face are only momentary, because you have a plan and you know this is not the end. You know what's best for me. The chorus says, Lord, help me be content with where I am, because you know my end from my beginning. Help me trust your heart when I can't see your hand, because you're never without a plan and you know what's best for me. I was at a place in my life. I had moved from Birmingham back to Dallas. Again, this was after I lost my father. 2 years later, I moved back home to Dallas, and I really didn't want to come home. I didn't want to come back here. I wanted to start over somewhere else, but I wanted to be obedient to God and come back home, and I ended up having to move in with my mom. My mom had a 3-bedroom apartment, mind you. My sister was living there, my son was living there, my nephew was living there, myself and my mom. All of us are in this 3-bedroom apartment, and I was just like, okay, God, I know what you told me, but this does not look like your promise. This does not look like goodness and mercy following me all the days of my life, because I'm not content, I'm not happy, and I trust that you told me to come home, and I trust that you said the things that were going to be awaiting me here are going to come to pass. But my life doesn't look like what you said, but I really want to trust your heart. Even though I can't see your hand at work, I have to trust your heart. So I remember locking myself away in the bathroom. That was the only place I could go to get quiet time. And I would shut the door, lock the door, and I just began to say that, I was talking to God like, God, my life doesn't look like what you promised me, but I trust you. I trust your heart, even though I can't see your hand at work. And so I went and grabbed my phone, and I just began to sing, and the melody came to me, and then the words came to me, and next thing I knew, I was writing the song Contentment. So it was really birthed out of a place of being discontent, being unhappy, being unfulfilled, and having an honest conversation with God, saying, hey, can I be honest with you? There are seasons that you take me through that I don't like what I feel and I don't like what I see, but you promised me that these things that I face are only momentary, and you have a plan. So I have to trust that. So help me be content with where I am. That song to me is one of the most honest songs I've ever written. And I've had so many people tell me about how that song is basically their testimony too. So I'm grateful that I was courageous enough and, transparent enough to release that song from my personal experience. Lord, help me be content with where I am, because you know my end from my beginning. Yes, you do. Help me trust your heart when I can't see your hand, oh Lord, because you're never, ever without a plan, and you know what's best for me. Thank you for watching Dare to Worship TV. I'm Candy West, and I dare you to worship.
You're watching Dare to Worship TV. Watching Dare to Worship TV. Watching Dare to Worship TV.